So obviously this week you made the announcement that you were renouncing Democratic Party status and you're going to run as an independent. Just for the audience, as a reminder, the district you're running in now the second time, South Florida, fairly decent as far as wealth. There's a large swath of older Americans. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is also, memory serves me correct, the first Jewish person elected Congress from Florida. There's a lot of Jewish people in that district. There also is a lot of Latinos, African Americans, but that district, the most reliable voters are, older people who are traditional, capital D Democratic Party. I saw it when I was covering your race down there because I kind of infiltrated one of her fundraisers and was stunned. I think I was the youngest person by quite some time. No offense to older people, but that's just the reality. So what went into deciding, I guess 6 months out to run independent?
I'd say there were two major factors that led me to make this decision. First is, as we were discussing, the ballot destruction and all that represents. You could say that the Democrats in many ways pushed me out as they've tried to be pushing me and other progressive challengers out for more than 2 years now. When I show up to a Democratic Party function, a Broward County executive committee meeting with a couple of hundred folks there, or a small Democratic club with a few dozen people, the reception is quite often the same, that among rank and file voters, they're happy to see me. They come up and shake my hand. They want to talk to me. But the leadership sees me there, and they don't even utter my name. I'm that man, as in, don't let that man near the microphone. The last Democratic Club luncheon I went to, where our campaign bought a table for the luncheon, I was not permitted to get up and say hello, the 2-minute stump speech that candidates often get. They mentioned me in passing, but really very briefly, and yet Debbie Wasserman Schultz's aide was able to get up and speak for 10 minutes. And they said that was because Debbie Wasserman Schultz provided a cake for the luncheon, and I did not. I'm not kidding you. It's always some shifting excuse. They're fine with backing Wasserman Schultz even when she dodges debates. The chair of the Broward Democratic Party during our last race was constantly quoted in the newspaper denigrating my campaign and promoting Wasserman Schultz's in violation of the party's neutrality rules and promises. So here I was facing the prospect of a closed Democratic primary at the end of August that would presumably be supervised by the same supervisor who had just torn up my ballots. That led me to think, well, we'd have a fairer shot on the ballot in a November general election, where at least the Republicans would have every incentive to make sure that the election is conducted in a fair and impartial manner. It absolutely is saying a lot. And the second factor that led me here was seeing how the electorate has been changing in recent years, not just in this district, but across the country. Those diehard Democratic super voters who will always vote the party line and the incumbent because that's what they're told to do, and because they don't really go beyond and research who the other candidates are. In many ways, they are the low information voters. Well, they're getting older and they're dying off. And yet, what is the fastest growing part of the electorate? It's the millennials and those younger. And we see by all estimates that 60 to 70% of those younger voters refuse to register Republican or Democrat. These are non-party affiliation, which means they cannot vote in a closed August Democratic primary, but they can vote in November. Those are a lot of the voters that we will be engaging. Our message resonates with them, whether it's talking about the violence in the schools and on the streets, but really it's the economic and social agenda that resonates with them more than anything. They are more progressive than the mainstream of the Democratic Party, and certainly than the Democratic Party establishment on issue after issue. So if folks go online to timcanova.com and they go on our issues page, they're going to see a very progressive agenda in great detail. An agenda for, it's a New Deal agenda, jobs for all, based on public works, investment in our people and in our infrastructure, Medicare for all, ending the drug war, ending mass incarceration in the new Jim Crow, taking care of the environment, converting to 100% renewable energy as fast as possible. And on all of these issues, Wasserman Schultz is on the corporate side. She takes money from all those big corporate interests, from millions of dollars, from big Wall Street banks and payday lenders to fossil fuel companies, big sugar, big pharma, big alcohol, private prison companies, and she's been pushing their agenda for years. So the voters are going to have a real choice come November between a corporate-funded, corporate-owned Democrat, a Republican, no doubt corporate-owned as well, and a real alternative in a progressive grassroots campaign that we will be offering to the people of this district.
Right. And, you know, one thing I have seen going around the country, but I mean, obviously the national media is pretty useless, but the local media, I think so. I mean, I literally was canvassing, not canvassing, I covered some of your volunteers canvassing, knocking on doors. Majority of people didn't even know that there was a Democratic primary or the date. There's very little local media coverage of the candidates or you per se. When there is, it's pretty much incomplete. And that's nationwide. We don't really see the media in most aspects. I just tweeted this morning, oh, I wonder why CNN didn't report that the Keystone Pipeline leak was actually double estimates. Well, they just had a commercial for American Petroleum Institute. Go figure. But how do you work around the fact that, A, that district is, you know, does have a lot of older Americans, capital D Democrats. B, the media, from what I see, is in bed with Debbie Wasserman Schultz down there. How do you get your message out to enough people in that district that could put you over the top?
Well, we follow what we did last time, and it requires raising money from the grassroots. People have been stepping up and going to timcanova.com and making small donations. Last campaign, 209,000 times somebody in this country clicked on their computer mouse and donated an average of $17 to our campaign. And since I made the announcement that I'm running independent, we've seen a significant upturn in donations to our campaign, where we raised more in just the first few days than we had been raising in a typical month. So with those resources that we're raising online, last time we built the biggest ground game in the country. We had 4 field offices, I think 50 full-time field organizers and deputy field organizers, and close to 200 volunteers, all knocking door to door on a daily basis in the heat and humidity of South Florida in August. And by knocking on 10,000 to 12,000 doors a week at the height of the campaign, we were delivering the message that there is a primary, that there is a real alternative to what you have, that these are the issues we're running on. And these were two-way conversations that our field organizers and our volunteers were having with the voters on their doorsteps and in their living rooms. They were coming back and telling us what are the issues that resonate with these voters. What is it that they are concerned about? And we weren't surprised to see that they fit in perfectly with what our agenda was. I say I'm not surprised. I've been a law professor for more than 20 years. So I'm around law students. I understand what the problems are that they confront every day in their personal lives and that their parents and loved ones confront every day. And to me, you take a look at the financial collapse of 2008 and the recovery. It's been the weakest recovery recorded in American history. At no time did the annual growth rate exceed 2%. And I think it's very much been a jobs depression. Even if the official unemployment rate is low, that masks the reality that millions, mostly of older workers, baby boomers, have left the workforce discouraged. They've drawn down their retirements. A lot of their retirement funds were lost from the financial collapse itself. people over 50 who are unable to get jobs. A lot of it is age discrimination. But among the millennials and younger, 18 to 34-year-olds, more likely to be living at home with their parents, unable to find a real job with a job that provides a decent income, let alone benefits. So it's an incredibly challenging environment. We were hearing this from voters all the time, and this is our agenda, is to deal with this, is to have the kind of New Deal programs that would address the suffering that people are feeling every day. So it's by building a grassroots field campaign that we will reach out and speak to the voters. We start this campaign with much higher name recognition, obviously, than the last time. When I ran last time, except for among some law students and faculty at Nova Southeastern University, there weren't a lot of people who would have heard of me in the district. That's much different now. Wherever we go in the district, people are coming up telling me they voted for me, they've heard of me, they want to help and volunteer for the campaign. We did a search recently of just 4 towns in our district: Hollywood, Hallandale, Aventura, and Dania Beach. And just from the last campaign, we had over 400 people who had expressed interest in volunteering for us. So Wasserman Schultz has a war chest funded by big corporate America. We've got volunteers, we've got people power, and we've got the issues on our side. So I think we can do this. I'm very excited about our prospects of winning in November. But we do need help from people in our district and from the American people to go online and make donations. Small donations add up. Go to timcanova.com and to spread the word to others. The more people who are able to donate small amounts, the more this grassroots campaign will catch fire. And we're not going to be discouraged if there is a fundraising imbalance. You know, a few years ago when Eric Cantor, the second-ranking Republican in the House of Representatives, was defeated by a little-known college professor named David Bratt, Cantor had outspent him $5 million to $300,000. Okay, so people want change, and it will be hunting season on incumbents like Wasserman Schultz for as far into the future as the eye can see.